The following is being presented by EA Gamechangers. Hi guys, Samantha here and welcome back to my channel and another speed build using the newest Sims 4 stuff pack, Tiny Living Stuff. Just to remind you guys that I did receive early access code compliments of EA Gamechangers, so thank you very much EA for allowing me the opportunity to create such great stuff with this new pack in advance, I guess you could say. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this little speed build series so far, and I don't know if you kind of noticed I was trying to do different things with the pack as far as the requirements for the tiers, and this particular one is going to be considered the small house, which has a maximum of 100 tiles, and I wanted to do something different. With the first one, I just focused on utilizing a 32 tile space as efficiently as possible. With the tiny home, which was the 64 one, I wanted to kind of do something with 2 stories to kind of like show that it is possible to have a small home and have it have height or have a second story on it with a loft type living upstairs. And with this one, I wanted to play around with utilizing some of those tiles for a patio. I will say it's probably not the most efficient way to use your space. I struggled keeping it at 100, and I wanted to do this patio with a pool on the outside. I envision a sim that lives here probably was used to like being very outdoorsy, loving their swimming, things of that nature, but they needed to live in probably an area that didn't readily have like a beach nearby. So they just kind of like made their own little like swimming pool oasis on the side of their house. So they probably focused on more being outside than being inside. But with 100 tile, that 100 also includes the deck, the patio. So honestly, I didn't count, which I'm sitting there trying to tweak it right now. Like, how can I get more inside space and compromise the outdoor space? But I did see something like this house very similar online. I think I looked up tiny homes or space. I don't remember what I Googled, and there was a house that literally was super like basically like this. It was very similar to this, and it had a pool on the outside. And I was like, ooh, I kind of want to recreate this, especially because I wanted to play around with doing a deck as opposed to a what am I trying to say? As opposed to just the house itself. But I feel like for a small home, 100 tiles, especially thinking about what I did with 64, I could totally make this like a family home. I don't know if I could squeeze 3 bedrooms out of it, but I'm sure I could have squeezed a good size of 2 with a kitchen, a living area, and an eating area. I'm almost positive because this one actually ended up being pretty proficient for the size. I wish I would have counted the internal tiles to see if it was equivalent, the inside was equivalent to more like a tiny home, and then me just adding the outside. But from the looks of it, it looks like I have way more tiles outside than I do inside. I might be wrong. I might go back and count it and see. But either way, I wanted to do that with this one and just do something different. Because, I mean, we could build big homes all day long. Like, I don't think anyone has a problem building a big home. But it's keeping the tiles within the respective 100 is like, ooh. And then I wanted to do the deck and the pool and everything. So anyway, that is pretty much the basis of this home. And the, I guess, story behind the sim that would live in this home that I had came up with is she's an aspiring model. And she loves being outside, loves getting her tans, loves swimming. I can imagine that maybe when she was in high school, her parents had put her in swim lessons because they were thinking that she would become a swimmer. But in her mind, she really just wanted to model. So she probably is very fit because of the swimming. You know, you'd be surprised. Swimming actually is a very vigorous, I know this has nothing to do with Sims or this video, but swimming is a very vigorous exercise. Like there's some super toned people and all they do is swim. Just FYI. It's a new year. If you want to figure out a way to get healthier, swimming is a very good way, and it's a lot of fun, especially if you know how to swim. But anyway, so here I'm working on the outside right now, trying to make the oasis outside as nice as possible. So unfortunately, because it's a small space, didn't have much that I could do. I only had enough for a lounger. I could have swore we had just umbrella stands. Couldn't find just an umbrella stand. I went through my stuff. I think it was a piece of custom content that I have. I still haven't updated my mods since we got this pack for the EA Gamechangers. I guess the media release pack for it, but I didn't update my game yet. But I'm almost positive one of my mods is just an umbrella, because I was like, where's my umbrella? So I ended up using the umbrella with the table just because I just wanted her to have an umbrella. And then I put a chair on the side, which we already fast forwarded past it, but just in case she wanted to pull it up to the chair, up to the table and eat from there. So here's the internal version of my house. And y'all, I'm not going to much lie to you. I struggled with this only because I had already committed, you know, once I placed the roof and I struggled with how the roof was going to look, and I placed that pool and I liked how the outside looked, I was like, we're going to have to make this inside work. So I tried to play around with segmenting the rooms to try to make it a little bit more beneficial for the space, even though it's like a weird shaped space. But I think eventually it ended up coming out really nicely. And I was trying to say earlier, I apologize that this is like a day late, essentially. I actually was going to upload it yesterday, but I think I put way too many videos up yesterday. And when it was time for me to come and sit and do the voiceover for this one, y'all, I was tired. I was so tired. I was like, you know what? We'll do it tomorrow. It's fine. But as promised, I have done 3 builds with this pack with the different tier homes. So hopefully you guys are enjoying the series. I had so much fun doing it. I can honestly say I was so inspired by this pack. Talking with some folks like in Discord and like on Twitter and like reading some of the comments, a lot of people are really excited about this pack. So I will definitely give EA kudos for that. It's a really good pack. I will say that. The only thing that's a little bit disturbing about it is it does feel like this is something that could have been put in another pack that we already have. It could have went with City Living, which is something that I talked to about with Melanin. If you're watching the video, remember we talked about this on the Discord, or like a lot of people said on Twitter, this could have totally went with University Life, or Discover University, whatever it's called. Either way, I totally know what it's called. I know what it's called, y'all. I just can't think of it right now. But anyway, so it's kind of like, could this have been something that could have been put in with another pack? You know, I don't know. At the end of the day, it's still a really good pack. And if you guys are looking for recommendations on purchasing it, I totally say go for it, because it definitely gives you another avenue to decorate with, and different beds and different space, and totally for apartment living. I really think it'll be really good for apartment living, for things of that nature. But anyways, here I am just struggling trying to segment off these little areas. Crazy me, I made that whole room behind the bed, the Murphy bed, thinking I was going to put a bathroom there, and then forgot that I made it and boxed off another room for the bathroom. But I'm going to fix it eventually. And here I am just kind of playing around with the doors, because again, I was a little disappointed that we only got one door, and I wanted to make, even though this house is smaller interior, you know, it's a smaller interior, I wanted to make the walls a little bit higher than what I had did with the other two, for the purpose of it's a little bit smaller, because I was focusing on the outdoor patio area. So I wanted a tall door to fit that space, but then I just, you know, the door that they gave us was really just for the first the first level of height for walls, if that makes any sense. So I was going to put the bathroom over here, but I didn't like the fact that the shower was so deep in that wall. So then I was just like, well, what if I made the living room a little bit larger, put that back there? But then I was just like, no, I don't like that. But then I did think about, you could do a built-in if you were into that type of thing with those shelves. And I don't know, which I need to play around with it. I want to say that you might can put those bookshelves next to the TV, that TV stand, the one that I have on here, the one that's not mounted on the wall, but it's actually a shelf, and then make it look like an entertainment stand, like an all-in-one, and then flush that into a wall. I think that'll look really good, because it'll look like it's built into the wall. Anyway, I wanted to play around doing something like that. I just haven't had a chance to do it yet, because of course, as I'm building, I'm like, I wonder if I could do this. But of course, this is all me doing it within the constraints of a small space. Had I had like just a regular schmegular size house, I'm sure you could probably do way more with this pack. But just, of course, confining it to this little space, it's pretty much what you get. So this is me trying to make the living room work, especially with this 3-door. This door takes 3 doggone spaces. I don't even understand why. It's just the window and the door, but for some reason it takes 3 spaces. I was struggling with trying to make the kitchen over there, so I decided to move the bathroom over there, because that makes sense. That way I won't have to have that space behind the living room, or which will actually end up being the bedroom / living room, that I wasn't going to use because I didn't want the shower to be so far back offset. Then I played around putting everything to the back, as you guys see. And then I was like, well, she is way too far from the TV at this point. So nope, put everything back like how it was. And oh my goodness, this is good times, y'all. This is good times. Like trying to figure out But I do like how the living room came out. It's tight, but it's super cozy. And I'm like, I was able to fit a dresser in there. You got 2 tables and like essentially the couch, the bed eventually, and then another chair if she has guests. So and the TV with the bookshelf and the radio, all in that little confined space. I wish I could count the squares right now, which wasn't really bad. So me still trying to utilize this little push out. I decided I was gonna make it a pantry because even though she doesn't have like a ton of space, I was like, well, she'll have a ton of storage. I ended up changing my mind later on. You'll see that in a second. I was like, ain't nobody, first of all, I don't have no custom content in my game. And not only that, even if I had custom content in my game, when I put this in the on the gallery, you guys won't be able to download it because you won't have the custom content. But saying all that to say, if I had my custom content in my game, I probably could have filled those shelves up with clutter. But I was thinking about the things that we have in the game. I was like, my original plan was to fill the shelves up with clutter and make it look like a real pantry. But after trying to like a mental check of all the clutter in my game from doing the other 2 builds, I was like, Samantha, there's not enough stuff that is just in the game that you could put on those shelves like comfortably, like with move objects on. Yeah. And there still wouldn't have been enough to fit on those shelves. So I ended up just going away with the whole idea of doing a pantry in there. So, but I do like this little kitchen. It's funny because as I was doing this kitchen, I was like, this kitchen reminds me of House Flipper. If you guys play House Flipper, they love having these little hallway. I think they're called galley kitchens where they're literally just like a hallway. It's people, they love those kitchens on House Flipper. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to make one on here. It'll be a good amount of space and then it'll just be like a little hallway. So here I'm getting rid of the pantry that I make. And then I was like, you know what? I'll put the real pantry that goes with the shelves and put that in there. But I ended up changing my mind again, which you'll see later. So, but I hadn't had a chance to really use a piece like that in any of the builds. So I thought that might be a good idea. I kind of wanted to do like an island so she could have somewhere to sit. But then I was just like, ooh, that is way too cramped. So I got rid of that idea. So, because the only thing about this build, even though I love how it came out eventually, there's no seating area for food. Ideally, she could go, especially if you make it a covered patio or at least like a covered patio area, she could go outside and eat. And if it's raining, it won't bother her if it's like covered. So I was thinking like, okay, she could just go outside and eat. She's an outdoorsy type. I want to be by the pool all the time anyway. So I could just do that. Or she could sit at her bed, at her couch and eat there. But there's not a seating area here. I thought about getting rid of the fish tank, putting like a little seating area over there. So if you download this lot and you decide I'd rather have a seating area, that is an option. My nose just got stuffed up all of a sudden. That's crazy. Anyway, that is an option. But I wanted to put the fish tank there because I haven't used a fish tank and I'm like, wow, that's a crazy use of space in a small house. And B, like I said, the sim that lives in this house loves the water. She loves swimming. She loves like everything aquatic. So I was like, of course she'll have a fish tank. Of course she will. So I kept it. I know it's not, I will say, even though this was like a vanity build, is that like a good way of describing it? It's like a build that you just want to do, but it absolutely makes no sense efficiency wise, especially when you're dealing with these small homes. I got 100 tiles and I'm over here sitting there cramping and stuff like, I was literally, the whole time I was thinking, I was like, Samantha, you're crazy. You're cramping, like you're literally struggling to cramp in stuff and you could just demolish that entire pool area and have all that space for a house. Because this totally could have been a 2-bedroom house. This might have even been a 3-bedroom house. Honestly, it could have been a 3-bedroom house. You put twin beds in 2 rooms or a toddler bed and a twin bed and then a living and then a full bed. You could have totally made this. It would have been a very tight 3-room, but you could have made it a 3-room house, a 3-bedroom house. But either way, we're going to stick to our guns with it because I had the idea. And if it wasn't for that doggone house I saw online, I would have never probably even done this. Even though I did wanted to do a house next with a decking because I hadn't done one. And I wanted to play around with the 100 tiles or with any sort of tiles being a deck since it said it had to be included with the amount of tiles. That's crazy. It's so funny because I don't know how it is here. And this is so off topic, but you know how I do when I do these videos, I ramble. So in Houston, where we used to stay, when they used to do the property value and they considered your square footage and stuff, I always felt like it was a cop out because they would want to get you, like if you added like a patio, they'd be like, yep, that's part of the square footage now. You got to get taxed on that. I'm like, what? We don't live on our patio. Like legit, it's supposed to be living space. They used to count the garage. We had got an exterior patio and our, I forgot how many square foot it added, but let's just say it added like I don't know, like 200. That's probably too much. But you know, it added like square footage. And that next year, and we reported it as far as like you have to have construction permits or whatever when you get stuff added to your house. And it was a covered patio, even though it was outside. So they had to extend the roof line. That was enough. All we did was get the permit. And then next thing you know what, I'll never forget, this guy pulled up. He was like all over my fence looking in the backyard, taking pictures. And I'm like, excuse you. And he was like, oh, I work for the county. We're doing assessments. And it didn't dawn on me. They were doing assessments so they could tax us on that mess. I was like, what? Anyway, saying all that to say, I don't think they do that here, but it's funny. It shouldn't be considered part of a living space. So saying all that to say, the tiles, the 100 tiles, I'm like, why did they decide to include the deck as that too, as considered a small house? Because technically I'm not living there, but you know, it's still a nice little challenge to sit there and say, I want to do this and I need 100 tiles to do it in. So anyway, just kind of like sharing that you could pretty much do anything with this pack. It's pretty, especially when you're dealing with the small, when you want to do the tiers or whatever. But so anyway, I just wanted to kind of show you guys that. I completely lost my train of thought. So here we are working on the outside right now. I wanted to put like some stairs coming into the front of the house. And honestly, I did want to kind of make the front of it be super elaborate with plants and stuff like that. But I ended up leaving a good majority of it blank, only because I couldn't figure out what to put out there. And without putting moved objects on, which I know I get criticized a lot for not using moved objects, but I'm the type that goes in the gallery and gets these houses because of how gorgeous they look and gets them home or gets them in the game, so to speak. And they're unusable because of move objects on. So I try my hardest. If I know I'm going to share a lot, I try not to use move objects. But that door restricted me so badly with the 3 spaces it takes up. I was just like, I'm just going to put this one plant out here and pretty much call it a day. I didn't want to do too much. But if you are a fan of move objects on, you could put move objects on and put a ton of stuff in front of it and just, you know, clutter it up as much as you want. Just know that there is a possibility that your Sims might act like they can't access that door. So just FYI, I'm not sure why that door takes up 3 spaces. It's the weirdest thing. It's like it's the window and the door. I can imagine the 2. I have no clue. But anyway, it's a really nice door. I liked the fact that I used the door in the front of the house, but it was just kind of like golly, that door takes up a lot of space. Anyway, long story short, here we are dealing with the living room again. I'm just trying to put some of these decor items on it. I love this little planner thingy that we got, and there's like so many different colors and stuff you can do with it. I will say, and I don't know if it was just because I noticed it when I was looking for the stuff. I don't know if it's because, I don't know. I don't want to say this happened, like this is a for sure. But it almost looked like when I was dealing with the stuff, because I had picked a certain color scheme and it was the last one I had picked, almost every item I picked after that, it already had that color scheme highlighted. Was it a fluke or is that like a thing now? Because I was kind of trying to see, because it kind of like how they do the swatches on all the pieces. If you realize that it's like the first or the second swatch, if you go to the next piece, a lot of times it is the second swatch. And I had realized that this set was like the 3rd swatch. So every time I went to go into the piece, I was counting 1, 2, 3 to kind of get the coordinating swatch. And that's when I realized that it's already highlighted on the 3rd one. It was the weirdest thing. It did it to me every time. So I was kind of like, is that like a thing or did it just, I don't know. But anyway, as you guys see, I changed that room again. I ended up making it a washer and a dryer, which meant that I needed to put a dirty clothes hamper. She swims a lot. She stays a lot outside and do stuff like that. So I was like, she's going to need a dirty clothes hamper so she can like wash clothes and stuff. So I ended up putting in this living room, this bathroom right here, which surprisingly, I was very surprised I was able to like move things over. This is without move objects on, and put 3 items right there. And I think I said this last speed build, it feels like they changed the clearance. That's what I was looking for. I couldn't think of the name of it at the time, but the clearance they normally required for pieces, you know, that little green arrow thingy, it feels like they got a little bit more laxy daisy with it. But I will say I didn't, you know what, I play tested this a lot, but I don't remember testing the laundry basket. I probably didn't, because even though I was getting the green go ahead on some stuff, some of the Sims were still acting like they couldn't get to the toilet, and they were also acting like they couldn't get to the shower if they were facing each other. So with this build, I put them facing outwards. And I remember her using the restroom and washing her hands afterwards, but I don't remember her throwing clothes in dirty clothes. So hopefully it really works. I just thought about that because I was able to squeeze it in there without move objects on and with the green go ahead, and it fit. And so I don't know if they changed it where clearance. I didn't look at the update for the note. I don't, to be honest with you guys, I don't ever really, sometimes I'll glance over them, especially if I see something like, oh, this is for laundry day. Let me see what they did with laundry day, like how they'll highlight certain areas or certain packs that got updated. I'll go check it out. But for the most part, I don't really read them. I know you would think like, oh, Samantha, you should read those. You know, you do videos. Why, you know, you should be, you know, aware of what, but I don't. Like I, in real life, I got so much stuff going on. I'm just like, okay, they did an update. Cool. I'll update it later, especially if I don't feel like updating mods. So a lot of times I just do not. So I don't know if that was like an update, but I do know that it's different because I build enough to know, and I try to put things in places enough to know that before that wasn't a thing. So anyway, long story short, back outside, I decided to go in and fence out that little area with that glass fence because I like the idea of it being all encased in. And then I was going to do something different. I wanted to kind of do something on this little wall right here. Decided I'd make it like, put a little console table there. Originally, I was just going to put some clutter items like, you know, tissue, like a mirror, stuff like that, corkboard, whatever. Then I was like, you know what? Maybe this will be like another little area for her vanity. Being that she doesn't have a bathroom, maybe she could kind of have like a makeshift vanity. I put like some makeup brushes, her blow dryer, stuff like that. And that way she could just kind of like primp herself and doll herself up right there. So before she goes out or whatever, like I said, she's a wannabe model. So I can imagine she's out and about, probably in San Myshuno, trying to hobnob with the elite, you know what I'm saying? So she could get her name out there, and maybe they could say, I want you on my next, you know, whatever. So anyway, ended up doing something like that over here. I don't, honestly, now I think about it, I forgot about, we actually have a vanity that came with Vintage Glamour. Maybe I could have tried that there and seen if it fit. I don't know, but you know, it's kind of like a makeshift, like you wouldn't typically use that for makeup and stuff, but that's what we ended up doing anyway. So anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it with this build. I'm just kind of going through and adding lights and stuff. I like to put lights in the pool. You like to make it dark and see what it looks like at nighttime. I don't know, swimming at night, especially with the ambiance of the lights and the moon and the stars and kind of like staring up at the sky. I think that's such a beautiful thing to do. I don't know why. So I really like that build for this purpose. And I really haven't had a chance to do anything with the beach living stuff as far as in pools, because I don't think I've ever put, like, I know I got floaties, but I don't think I've ever put them in a pool before. That was my first time. I wish that they would have gave us donuts too. I know this is not related to the pack, but it would have been nice if they would have gave us donuts too, because, you know, some people want to actually be in the pool with a floaty as opposed to sitting on top. It would have been cool if they would have gave us donuts, but they didn't. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. And I decided to put a mailbox because, y'all, they got this weird thing now where every time I was going to play test the lots, the mailbox would be on the inside of the house, like right by the door. It was the creepiest thing. I'm like going in the house, like after I put the sim in there, and I'm like, why is this mailbox? So I remember at this time to put a mailbox on the outside. So the other lots, even though when I showed you guys on the speed build, they didn't have a mailbox, they will if you download them from the gallery, which I think I'll have them probably up tomorrow. Sometimes they'll like tell us to put once the pack comes out, we could put the lots up on the gallery. So these will be up on the gallery. I know a lot of you liked the last build, which was the one, the 2-story one, as you can see back in the distance. I know you guys, a lot of you guys like that one. So I think that'll probably be a favorite for people to download. Not so sure about the little single. I was about to say shotgun house. Ooh, if you guys are from Louisiana, actually they might have shotgun houses other places, but we call those like when there's just like one room that goes all the way back. I have family that live in them, so I could talk about them. Okay, it's nothing negative about it. But anyway, we're getting to the end of the build. I will show you guys like some in-game footage of my sim in action in this house. I love how it came out. Again, it'll be on the gallery. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I'm trying to get to 20,000 by the end of 2020. I don't know. We'll see if it's possible. And don't forget to thumbs up the video. Comment down below. Let me know what you think about the pack. Oh, I forgot I did put a chair over there so she can eat there if she wants to. She's not focused on eating though. This is like one of those little salad type sims. She eats salads. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one.